Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm AJ O'Neill, and I am live at work, kind of, sort of. I already got my hours in, but this is just an interesting problem that was kind of, sort of tangential. So, whatever. Um, but we've got this one little dependency on LibreOffice for converting some stuff to PDF, and it has bugged me. And as I'm starting to do auto deploys, I think it adds about 3 minutes to our build times. So if I can just separate this thing out into a microservice so that we just throw a docx at it and get back a PDF, and that's that, then we'll do well to eliminate the. I'm trying to get it where we can deploy more things that, and you could say, oh, we'll just throw Docker at it, because then you can have things arbitrarily complex, and you just ship the complexity. But I think that this is something that makes sense to break down into a microservice. So I've already started to do that. In fact, I need to get out my other laptop where I've got the code that I've started this on. Let me grab that real quick. I'll just have to rsync it over. Yeah, and this is my first. So I've praised Fastify several times now without actually having used it, which I feel a little bit guilty about, because I'm realizing that the promise, it's the way things go. The promise of it, I'm 100% behind, but the reality of it, it's not quite so simple. Um, anyway. So we'll get on to that. Hello to those of you joining in. Like I said, I'm AJ. I would love to know who you are and what brings you to the channel today. And yeah, so I'm just gonna rsync some code over. Let's see, where's a good window for this? I think I've already got some stuff up on a window. Is this one the right one to do it on? Maybe. Let's get out of there. Yeah, I think we'll use this window today. So I don't yet have this in a repository. I'm not yet quite sure what it needs to be like, but I'm going to move it over to, we'll just move it over to downloads for now. So let's go downloads, and I call it doc to PDF. I'm just going to stick with that for now. All right, so now I've got that over here in my downloads folder, and I'm going to move that. And by the way, feel free to ask questions. We can do stuff that's a little bit off topic as well. That's fine. I had someone ask me what I thought the meaning of life was the other day, which was, quite interesting. Or maybe it wasn't the meaning of life. It was what's most important in life. But yeah, I'm not suggesting we go down that road. I'm just saying that I'll entertain questions of all sorts as I deem fit. Okay, cool. So that's copied over. Let's go ahead and get into here. And so doc to PDF is what I'm calling this thing. And I'll show you. Let's use this. This is the file. No, that's not the right file. I found a module on NPM, one that we were already using. Hey, how's it going, NPM? So there's a module that we were already using, but I didn't quite understand it. In fact, I'm going to bring it up. And so I got to the point where I could understand it, and then just rewrote the important part, because it itself brought in a bunch of dependencies, and I don't think the author really knew what they were doing. And there was a little bit that made me concerned that there's possibly a security vulnerability with it. But I'm not quite sure, because I think they're doing some weird stuff with string interpolation, but I think they're actually only doing it in a situation where they've constructed the string ahead of time. It's just a little bit difficult to navigate. And obviously, now I don't blame them for this at all. Their English is obviously not their first language, based on kind of some weird naming, interpath, done. This is actually a buffer. This is not the Node.js idiomatic done callback. It's actually it's a data buffer. So there's a little bit confusing just looking at their example here and looking at the way that our code was adapted to that example. And I'll just go in here and you can kind of see they're doing something with paths, and they're doing this so that it'll work on Windows as well, essentially, because if you're on Apple, well, I guess if you're on Apple, you still also need to, yeah, so it'll work on Mac and it'll work on Windows if you want to run this there. But really, we're only concerned about Linux, and for Linux, when something's in your path, you don't need this type of thing. You don't need to explicitly list paths, and they're doing some sort of filter here. The better way to do this is Command-V on the Unixes, and then where on Windows, with the exception that these may not necessarily be in the path because of the way that they're used on the command line. So I guess the way, but on Linux, the Command-V would be the thing that makes sense. Your Command-V looking for either S Office, I think that comes from Star Office, or maybe Sun Office, and then LibreOffice, which I think those are just aliases of one another. Anyway, we're going down here. This is what's actually the important bit, which I'm not going to go over this because it's just kind of convoluted looking. But he's concatenating some strings together only to split them apart so that then they can be put together again, which is just really confusing. And then, yeah, I just have a hard time understanding what's going on here. But I was able to pull out the relevant parts, and I think I've got it working now. So I'll show you the code that I've got. So I've got a function that's the exec function, and I'm using spawn. I think he was using exec file, but looking at the documentation, it seems like spawn is probably the thing that I want to use. And so this bit right here is just abstracting the spawn into a promise so that we can await it. And a lot of stuff here is just being done explicitly. I'm putting options that are, some of these are already the default anyway, but I just like it to be explicit. And then I guess the timeout on this should be a bit shorter. I think, well, I'm going to leave it at 60 seconds for right now. We can change that later, I suppose. And then down here, this is the important bit, is just we need to take an input. It needs to be a file path, not a stream. Output needs to be a file name, not necessarily a file path. And yeah, so I should put some documentation here so that we know this is at params. What are we going to have here? String input, and then, gosh, I forget. I think we just then put the description here, which would be full path of input file. Maybe I should call it input path and output name, just to be clear of how this works. So, and I need to go check how I use this in another place. And then at returns, and this is going to be a promise. And I think what we're returning here is the string, which is the full path of output file. And then we could just call this output name, name with extension. Let's say target extension of converted file. Okay, I think that's right. I'm going to have to go double check on that. I'm not using JSDoc consistently enough to hold it in my head as often as I would, or as much as I would like. Okay, so we're going to have, yeah, let's do output name here. There's a couple things I need to do, but anyway, let me get to the part that's that's important, and we'll get over the Fastify bits in a little bit as well. And by the way, I do have our sponsor / not really our sponsor right here, but I'm not sure if I want to actually open focus because it is 1 a.m. and I kind of want to get a good night's sleep. I just, as is often the case, I just couldn't get to sleep, so I decided, let's go code something. All right. So, env user installation. This is just junk metadata files that OpenOffice is going to create, so it's good if you can put that in a temporary directory, I guess. I kind of want to, I don't want this to be different on each run because it's going to create junk stuff in temporary directories over and over again, and I don't actually want to do that. Headless, obviously, don't open up the GUI. Convert to, and then you give it the format, which should be the extension that you get from path.xname. But, so let's say extension.pdf. That's why. So the format is PDF. And so this will be something like that. Okay, and then you give it an out. You give it an out dir, and it's basically going to swap the extension to whatever the format is. So you give it an out dir, and it's going to take the name of the input path, the full input path. And then it's going to just take that name, swap the extension, and put it in the out dir. So the out dir might as well be a temporary directory, I suppose. But I do want to change this one to not be this. This one, it's fine if we just generate a new one every time. It doesn't matter. But this one, I'd actually like it to be the same throughout the life cycle. And then just for funsies here, I'm outputting what the command is so I could see it and then try it myself. And then I made a little CLI out of this so that if you run it by itself, it'll do the conversion. So with that, yeah, this thing's pretty good. This represents what I want. It exports a convert function. That's what I need. Hey, hello to those of you joining in. It is a bit late here. It's 1 a.m., but I was having trouble sleeping, so I got up. And so we're working on a little Fastify service to convert from DOCX to PDF and that sort of thing. Water's good for the soul. Okay, so here's the Fastify bits. So I try to just kind of plop in Fastify where I would normally have my Express, but there's a couple of things Fastify does that I'm not too keen on. One, you have to create a server factory in order to use, with Fastify, you have to call Fastify's.listen, which I find to be really the wrong layer of abstraction. I should be able to pass Fastify to a node server. I should not be required to create a node server and then pass it to Fastify. That's definitely the inverted control from what it ought to be. And I think I could make a pretty strong case for that in general. Hold on just a second. I had a DVD, a Russian DVD that I've been ripping here, which has been some of the background noise, and that just got finished, so I'm going to pull that out. I got to get my Blu-rays from Russia because we are a bilingual family, and the Russian DVDs often have Latvian on them, whereas that's the only place I've been able to find to buy them from is from Russia. I can't find any place to get the Latvian Blu-rays anywhere else. Even the people we know in Latvia don't know how to do it. So anyway, let me get back to this. So we've got, Fastify has a register instead of use, and it's a little bit different. You take more advantage of it relies more on nested routing than just the path routing like Express does, which I think I can get used to it. I don't think it's going to bother me that much, but it's a little bit confusing to say, okay, register this and apply it to this prefix. I don't find that quite as intuitive as the express use, where express.use, give it the prefix and then give the middleware that you want. Oh no, your sick bed. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Kai. What illness has begotten you? Begotten you? Not begotten you. That's words. Obviously, sickness has not birthed you into existence. Become you? Befallen you? That's something like that is what I meant to say. Anyway, you don't have to tell us all the gory details, but is it just food poisoning? Are you going to go over it quickly? Are you down and out with the flu for a week? Okay, so yeah, we got this register bit going on, and then it seems that again, this is a little bit strange to me. I kind of get why you do it this way. But it's got this thing where you're registering and you're passing in the module, but you don't call the module with its options. Instead, you pass its options. And I think this could have to do, I've done a pattern like this before when I expected configuration to be stored in a database, and I wanted to force it so that you would actually do it, what's the word? Declaratively rather than imperatively, because you can only store declarative stuff in a database like JSON. You can't store imperative stuff like code in a database. So I've seen this, I myself have implemented this sort of pattern, but it just seems kind of weird. I don't know what the use case is, why you do it that way. It seems kind of backwards, but so I'm going to learn Fastify a little bit and see if, because I've been preaching it to people, predominantly because it's maintained and it supports modern features of JavaScript. I don't think you need to use every feature of the language, but I think it's nice that it's not stagnant and stale and cumbersome to use with modern features of the language. So it expresses that way. Anyway, so it's a little bit weirder. I really don't like that you have to call it an instance of it to call listen. I think that's just butt backwards. I should be able to call listen on my HTTP server and not have to have this weird encapsulation where I create my server factory with my Fastify instance, yada, yada, yada. Okay, but we won't go into that too much. So what we're really interested in, and this tripped me up, is we're registering a sub-router. I guess middleware and routers are kind of the same thing. I think it does similarly, the done detection if you call, or maybe it's not done. I don't know exactly what it is. No, it is. They call it done instead of calling it next. And I'm not quite sure why they do that, because it is kind of a nexty thing. But yeah, so we register this middleware to this prefix. And then let me go ahead and go into that middleware. So, and then inside of this middleware, or I don't know if that's what we're supposed to call it. I think they call it a module or something. But inside of that, so here I add my content parser. So I have to add a content parser that accepts any type, because it's DOCX, who knows what all the types are that I might want to handle. I don't know what they are. And something that I was just copying and pasting from different examples, and there were some options that I had in this, and then it was behaving weirdly, and I didn't understand why. And again, because I'm new to Fastify and the way that it works. But this is what you need to do. I can just... That's it. You tell it, you register a content parser, and then tell it not to parse the content. That way you can get access to the stream. So I think that's... skip parsing so that the handler has access to the stream. And again, you see here, there's request and payload and done. And then payload is, it's a wrapped, I don't get some other layers of abstraction. As you know, I'm not a big fan of adding abstraction. I like to stay as close to the source as possible. There's a lot of abstractions that Express provides that I think are pretty meaningless. If your abstraction is you're shortening a function name or turning an assignment into a function, I generally don't find that to be desirable. And so Fastify, the payload object is not a request body, but it kind of looks like one, but it's not a stream. So you can't pipe it, which is really bad because in the documentation they show using onData, and if you are a seasoned Node developer, you know that you never, ever, 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 ever use onData because it guarantees memory leaks. Instead, you need to use onReadable, and then you use stream.read whenever readable. You do a while stream read, and I'll show you that in just a second too. So Kai says, COVID is a vaccinated guy. Feels like the flu. Yeah, when I think I had corona a couple times, actually. I think I had it when it very first came out, and I think I had it about a year later. And yeah, and so I got swine flu and pneumonia, and I think I got corona and pneumonia. Yeah, obviously swine flu and pneumonia was several years ago, but so I've got poor lungs, so I am inclined to get pneumonia. Unfortunately, probably comes from secondhand smoke as a child. Shouldn't say probably, that's my guess. And yeah, last week I had food poisoning too. Food poisoning brothers. I'm pretty sure I had salmonella. Thankfully, it passed within 24 hours, but it's not fun. Okay, so now this is my receive function. Okay, I'm going to go back down here, and then we'll go back to the receive function because that's my main important handler here. So fastify.post, same thing as express.post. Similar routing styles, it seems like. I think that the Fastify one is a little bit more expressive, but this seems to be working. So I have /name, remember the prefix here is /API convert, and then name is the full path that this is going to handle here. And then we get the request and the reply, which again, these are abstractions over the rec and res object that we're used to dealing with. The rec and res and express are raw rec and res. And maybe it's because they want you to be able to use HTTP and HTTP2. Maybe that's why they provide the abstraction over this. I'm not quite sure what the reason for the abstraction is, but these are not node HTTP incoming stream and outgoing stream objects, or incoming request, outgoing request. I forget what the class is of those, but it's not that. Anyway, so request.raw is the HTTP incoming request stream thing. And then we got request params name. So what I'm saying is I'm going to receive this and to a file location. And then I'm gonna take the name as to what the file was named as a query parameter. So you're gonna post to this where name might be let's say my doc.docx, or report, let's say that, report.docx might be the name that we're posting to. It might be URL encoded or something. Anyway, and then I don't think I need this anymore. We can get rid of that. I don't need this debug anymore because now things are working as they should. The only thing that I can do if the unlink fails is just log that it failed, but this is more of a sanity fail. This shouldn't ever happen, but if it does, log it, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so creating a read stream. So I'm going to receive the file to disk, and then I'm going to create a read stream for it. I actually don't need that read stream, it turns out, but we'll get to that in a second. For this is basically just echoing. You upload a file, you're going to download the file again. So at this point, it's the service, what the service actually does is it just echoes the file back. You upload a file, you download that same file. So we'll go over that in just a second. And you'll notice one thing that I do differently from most Node developers is if something is a package, I always put a capital letter on packages to distinguish them from functions or from instances. So my capital FS is the FS module without promises, or if I'm only using the promise methods, then I'll do that. And then FSP is the file system package using promises. And in this case, I'm using both of them. Anyway, I'm going to go back down to the bottom here. Okay, so I'm receiving the stream. That's request.raw is the stream. And it's just going to write it to files, what the receive does. And then it's going to then create the read stream. And then when it's done sending it, so I have to listen on end here, because this is going to send, and when the stream is finished, then I want to unlink it. So this should pipe it properly. And so when this gets an end, then I know that the pipe is done. I can remove the file from disk. So, and I should have a cleanup process that removes files every once in a while anyway. So what I'm going to have to do is the file that I just showed, I need to bring that into here. And I was preparing this to be for the way that we were using the other module before, but now I'm switching it to use what I just showed you because I don't really trust that other module because the code, it looks convoluted. Honestly, it looks like somebody just copy and pasted every single thing from Stack Overflow. So I'm going to, no disrespect to the author here. They've got, 65, oh no. They've got 20,000 downloads a month on this, so good for them. But there's such a strange mix here of there's arrow functions. I think there was some async await in here somewhere, and yet it's using the old async module back from 2010, and then there's just some things in here that just. It looks as though this was a copy and paste from Stack Overflow venture rather than an intentionally thought out solution. Other than this part looks really good, but I imagine, I don't know. I shouldn't say what I imagine because I don't know. I don't know what happened, but this part looks good, but the rest of the stuff looks really just kludged together, as if not by a node, an experienced node developer. Anyway, so, all right. Yeah, so here I'm using the built-in mkd temp, which I think it goes down to a syscall for the operating system make temp directory. And this does not have a recursive option, interestingly enough. So you can only do, you can get the tempter comes from the OS module. So the OS module will give you what the tempter is for your process that's running, which should not change during the lifetime of the process. And in most cases, it's going to be /temp. But Mac likes to give sandboxed temporary directories. Not that I plan on using this on Mac, but anyway, just so that it's fairly portable. And then at first I was trying to do something like this, but this mkd temp doesn't actually have a recursive option, so it will not recursively make directories. And I thought, whatever, this is good enough. So I've got that there. We create a write stream, and we out of the destination, and then I'm just wrapping the write stream in a promise so that we can take the request, which here I call it rec. Maybe I should still call it raw, but this is what I'm used to calling it in Express. It's rec. It's a stream object. So we take that stream, we pipe it, and I don't need this anymore. This was just for debugging, and I don't think I need these anymore. But there are actually 3 different ways to detect the end of a stream, and I get confused sometimes because they're different. Sometimes you actually do need to use close or finish, and I I get confused on when that is. Normally you use end, and in this case, end does the business. So I don't think I need any of that anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of all these logs. And then I guess since I don't actually need to reuse this, I'm just going to inline this again. And there we go. Yeah, so I'll show you how this works. And then once I demonstrate the echo functionality, then we'll go ahead and add in the LibreOffice functionality, and I'll show that. So I should be able to do npm, I think it's run dev. I don't know if I actually set it up that way. No, I didn't. That's fine. So I'm just going to do node server. That's the way I got it set up. And then, well, I guess I'll just open up another here. And we will, I think in my downloads folder, I think I had a DOCX. There we go. Yeah, I've got a DOCX. So we'll do this. I'm going to go into the downloads folder. And I'm going to do curl http://120 or whoops 127.0.0.1 3042 is the port that I chose to run that on, not the conventional port of 3000, because as you've seen, I'll have different projects going over the course of a week in different windows, and so I choose I don't choose the standard, or not standard, but conventional 3000, because then I would just be in conflict with myself. So I'll pick a number that is sometimes meaningful, sometimes not. But anyway, that's what I've got right now. And let's see. So we're going to do API convert, and this, again, this isn't actually converting. And I'm just going to call this resume.docx, and we're going to do -d at resume.docx, and then I'm going to make this an output as resume.docx. So that should do the business. So we see over here some stuff came through, looks good. And then let me move this a little bit so I can actually see. Whoops, shouldn't have done that. Okay. There we go. Now I can actually go between these just by clicking around. All right. So if I look at the difference between the two of these, by the way, I found out that there is a command called comp, which is kind of like diff, but I don't know why it's more useful. Oh, I don't want to do silent. So I want to compare to see if these are different. Oh, what? They shouldn't be different, considering that I copied them from the same thing. But let me go ahead and take a look at what this is. End of central directory signature not find. Either this file is not a zip file or consists of disk multiplier. Okay. So obviously I did something wrong here, because well, let me just check size-wise. Are these the same? That's 62, and this is 29. So yeah, something definitely went really wrong there. I'm going to guess that it's not the whole file somehow. Let's see what the post says. Do we have anything about the number of bytes that came in? I want to check. So the first thing I want to do here, I thought I had this working, but I don't know if that I actually checked that the bytes were coming in and out the same. So let's go into routes, convert again. Let's see. Let's see. What if I don't write this out to file? Well, it's getting 29 bytes, but maybe there's an error at the end. I didn't see an error. It's creating a read stream from the destination. It's not creating the read stream until the write has completed. So it doesn't resolve until the end. So we pipe the stream. Oh, you know what though? Did we close the stream? I might need to close the stream. Let's try to call close on this. And then stream dot on end. Let's see. Console.log end. And then I'm going to try close as well. Let me think about this for a second. Because this stream is a file, and just because, yeah, I think this is one of the cases where that I was talking about. So when you pipe one thing to another, this doesn't necessarily close just because this reaches its end, because you might want to pipe more than one thing. You might want to pipe one stream and pipe another. Oh, let me see. Do you know the port 0 trick to get a random one? Yeah, but I do know that. Thank you. But I don't pick the ports entirely at random. I pick them in a way that's somewhat sensical in my own mind, so that I kind of recognize them. I'll use the same port number for a particular project over and over and over again. That way I know, oh, the thing that's running on this port is that project, or at least sometimes. Yeah, upload foo.txt with bar in it. If we do that, we're not going to encounter this problem, dollars to donuts. So I'll reduce this down a little bit smaller. Thank you for that suggestion. But the types of this type of problem where you're only getting half of a file, typically you're not going to have that problem if the file size is really small, because it's one read, it's one write, it's one read again, and there's no possibility for the asynchronous nature of the reads and writes to get out of sync. Now, I could be wrong, because what we could find is that if we write a file with bar, that we get back an empty file because the write may not have closed by the time we read it again. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here, is that with the stream, I didn't call stream.close, but now I'm doing that. So I think that this is going to solve the problem. So let's take a look and see. All right, so we're going to try this again. And okay, only 29 kilobytes still. Do we see anything about stream closing? Yes. So we do get a stream close. All right, but we don't get a stream end. Okay, so I'm also going to do, let's see, we pipe the stream. I also want to make sure that we're not missing anything, because here's another thing that I've seen happen before that I've had to deal with, is you have to request.rawl.pause, because there is potentially some amount of time between when this filter or module or whatever happens and this next one happens. Now the stream should be paused by default, but I don't know. So definitely something that I want to do here is I want to see if we can tell what's the maximum number of bytes. So I'm going to do on data. Well, let me do it the right way. Let me not take the shortcut way after I just went on that rant. And so we're going to do rec.read. So we're going to do let chunk while chunk equals rec.read. And then we're going to console.log chunk and then chunk.length. Okay, that's coming after we start piping. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're not missing a chunk somewhere on the input. We might need, this maybe actually does need to go in here, even though people were saying that you could do otherwise. So there's also, this isn't a promise, that could introduce some sort of async mess. Gonna have to think about this. And then let's see. So let's make sure. Okay, we're creating a write stream here. Our write stream is closed before we resolve. Do I need to do an end as well? I'm just going to do a try on this, try catch, because I don't know if end actually exists on this. But nuanced details between when to use end and when to use close. I think end is for network connections, close is for files. But we're not resolving until we get the close or the end. So it should have synced to disk. So we should be safe in this next iteration of the event loop to read. And I may take an alternate approach of the foo.txt. I've done this before where I measure out a kilobyte of A's, a kilobyte of B's, a kilobyte of C's, a kilobyte of D's. That way I know that I'm getting across boundaries, but I can see, is it skipping the first part of the file or the last part of the file? I think here we're not getting the last part of the file, because if I look at, let me just do hexel maybe. The hexel. Okay, so let's take a look with hexel at resume, and let me see what the hexel options are, because really I just want to do the head of it. I want to do the first so many bytes. Let's see. Is there an option for in length? Only read so many bytes. Okay, yeah. So let's just read the first 100 bytes of, or let's say 128 to be nice, of resume. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger, big enough for the table to display properly. There we go. Okay, so PK, I think that might be PK zip. Could be complete coincidence, but and then let's look at the other one. So, oh, there are differences right there. Interesting. Oh, you know what? I know another thing that's wrong here that I did, that I just forgot, that I pulled a little bit of a stupid on this. I probably need to tell it application octet stream so that it doesn't send it as form data, because I think the default is that it will send it with the wrong content type, and then this may not be executing in the way that I think. So let me put the console.log back in here. Rando type. All right, there we go. Okay, let's try this. Still same thing there, but let's check the encoding on it. Okay, that one looks, that's truth right there. That's truth. And then what do we get here? Totally different. Totally different. Really confused as to how they could be so different. So, but look at this though. Zeros here. Well, the first several bytes are the same. That just seems so odd to me. Yeah, I might have to go do that trick. Because this has got a bunch of zeros in it. I'm not sure how that's happening. And this only got one chunk? I only got one chunk, and the chunk was the 30 kilobytes. So that makes me think that maybe we are in fact missing data from the upload. So let me try to get rid of everything that could be in the way here. And we're just going to do reply.send. I'm going to put a return here, request.raw. So if there's anything related to the streams, we'll find that out hopefully right now. Okay, so I'm going to go run this. So now we're doing a straight echo. I'm not writing it out to a file. I'm just saying exactly what you bring in, I'm spitting out. So let's run the curl again. So for those of you that just joined in, I'm debugging just basically an echo. I'm saying upload a file and then download a file. And I'm using Fastify for the first time. And so some of the conventions are strange to me. Some of the way the options are different. There's more abstraction layer in Fastify than there was in Express. Express was pretty close to the metal in terms of the node API. Fastify adds more layers, and so there's a little bit of just learning curve there. Okay, again, super strange. So what we're seeing is 60 kilobytes are sent up and 30 kilobytes are received down. I just don't understand how that could be. So I'm gonna go with the foo.txt, just as Kai suggested. So we're just gonna put the text bar in here. And we're gonna do foo.txt, let's say, at foo.txt, and then we'll call this out.txt. Okay, this does not even make any sense. Okay, so let's take a look at foo.txt compared to out.txt. What? Something is seriously wrong here. Seriously wrong. Okay, I need to think this through. So let's take a look in Hexel at both of these files. Oh, apparently didn't like that. I'm imagining the difference is that the ending character is getting stripped off on the out file. Yeah. Huh. What the weird is going on here? I mean, that's just a little too strange, you know? I mean that. Okay, let's try it. Let's try a little bit bigger foo. And this may have to do again with the type. I'm gonna have to check something else on here. Why am I using Fastify? You know, Kai, that's a really good question. I'm thinking it might be somewhere between foolish pride and vain ambition at this point. So my beef with Express is that it's a dead project and it's not complete. It's okay for projects to die when they're complete. It's not okay for projects that half the world depends on. And that's not necessarily an exaggeration. That might be about accurate. To die halfway finished and still have glaring issues with them. And so the pull to Fastify is that it's being actively developed and it doesn't have, I mean, I'm assuming once you get over some of the quirks, it doesn't have the same glaring issues with Express where you have to do all these hacky-do workarounds to use any sort of modern JavaScript. Express, I have a solution for myself, which I advocate to others, which is Async Router, which is the module that I've published. It was a fork of someone else's code that I fixed a couple bugs in. But I've been advocating Fastify because I've been hearing good things about Fastify. Other people are telling me about Fastify. The greatest criticism I got when I did the Reddit post on Async Router was, well, why not just use Fastify? And so my understanding conceptually about Fastify has been that it's just all around better. It's faster, it's maintained, it has better security practices, et cetera, et cetera. Why not use Go for this? That's an excellent question too. It's because there's no reason not to use Go for this really. It's just because we don't have any services that are in Go presently. And I just wanted to pull this out and make a quick little microservice out of it, and Node works just as well. And if I were to use Express, I would have already been done. But I feel somewhat of a moral obligation to actually evaluate Fastify because I've been preaching it to people, but I wasn't actually invested enough in it to do that. Now I kind of regret that because I don't know if I'm going to walk away with this saying, yeah, Fastify really is better. But there's kind of a moral obligation to learn it so that I am either accept my hypocrisy and repent of it, or embrace the truth that I'm proclaiming, or reverse, either that I continue with that position or I reverse it. But this is just weird. There must be something that I'm doing wrong. I'm going to check the headers. This seems too strange. Why would I be losing the last byte of the file? Oh, wait. First, I wanted to make the file a bit bigger. Okay, so what are we up to now? Let's take this and then copy and paste this a few more times. All right, what are we up to now? We're over a kilobyte there. So this should be good enough for us to get a better understanding of what's going on, if there is to be any understanding of what's going on. All right, let's take a look with Hexel again at the foo. All right, so that all looks right there. And then with the out, interesting. So something very particular is going on. So this is why we're having such a big difference between the files. So whatever's happening, and I suspect that it's related to URL encoding. I suspect that this is a header issue where what I want to say is, hey, oh, dang it. Here it is. Content type. Stupid mistake. I specified the header. All right, so this is what's going on. It is assuming by default, since I didn't give it a content type, it is assuming, I think this is on the end of curl. It's assuming www URL encoded. So when it comes back through Fastify, this is no fault of Fastify. This is 100% me putting the wrong option in curl. Nothing was out of the ordinary here in terms of what Fastify was doing. It's DURL encoding, and it's getting rid of all the spaces that are not valid in URL encoding. So I guess maybe it could throw an error and say, hey, this is not valid URL encoding. Maybe that would be a better choice, but I don't know at what layer that's happening. If I were to try this exact same thing with Express, it may be at the node layer of the parsing. I'd let Copilot figure this out, or GitHub search. But see, Copilot wouldn't have solved this, neither would a GitHub search, right? So my problem is in my test methodology. And I don't know. I think that one day Copilot will get there. But today is not that day. Let's see. So foo.txt, out.txt. They still differ? What? Did I spell this right? Content type, space, application octet stream. Was I running the same command, or did I run a different command? Okay. So I'm wrong. but I've narrowed it down to the bare bones here. So I guess what else I could do is we could do request.raw headers. We could take a look at that, see if anything stands out there. And yeah, because it totally would make sense if it was seeing. Whoops, what did I do? All right, what is it seeing here? Content type. Ah, okay. So again, something is going wrong. Oh, again, I hit up content type application stream. Let's try that one last time. So apparently the command I corrected wasn't the correct command. Okay, but that's not looking right. All right, let's take a look over here. Now we have content type application stream. Okay, again, I think the problem may actually be curl on this one. I'm not 100% sure, but it's saying that it received this many bytes. Let's take a look at how many bytes that file is. How many bytes is foo.txt? Okay, so we're looking at a problem again on the curl side. So let me try this instead. Let me try we're going to do cat foo.txt. All right, what do we get here? Content length. No, that's not it. Let me try like that. Nope. Okay. All right. Let me do this in bash instead. Never send a fish to do a bash's job. So I'm not actually sending the right files. Okay, foo. What? Where am I? I'm in downloads. No such file or directory. Oh, curl. Okay. Again, something's off here. What do we see over here? Content length. Content length at least looks right on this side now. Let's see if the two files are the same. foo.txt, out.txt. EOF. Oh, I just opened that file and closed it again, so that could make sense there. Also, cat is going to possibly delete the last bit. I could have sworn I must be using curl wrong. I'm going to go check the curl docs real quick. So we got curl. I thought when you use the sign, I thought that gave you the exact binary file, copy of the file. Apparently it does not. So but this is one of the features of curl that I don't use very often. But I think this okay. Data binary. So I think I did D, which I use -D for JSON all the time. So maybe maybe my mistake is that I should have used data binary, and then let's try if I do that at foo.txt. Does that do the right thing? That looks like it does the right thing. Okay, so ladies and gents, learned something new today. -D, which I've been using on curl for years, And I'm always messing with JSON files, so I'd never know because when it works, the JSON parse is the same. You know, I, I, I have not been using curl with images and with files where white space matters typically. So that's the problem right there. That was my goofo. So I'm going to bring this over and make sure that this example makes it into the documentation in some way, shape, or form. So I'm just going to put this here for now and then worry about I'm just going to put a note. All right, let's put this important. -D is not the same as data binary. I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay, cool. So that was embarrassing, but yeah, so's life. Cool. So yeah, normally when I'm trying new technologies, I will still, even in my years of wisdom, will make the mistake of blaming my problems on the new technology, especially if I don't like the new technology. It's like, oh, it's the new technology's fault. But as we can see here, it was an ID 10T error, which means that the problem lied between the keyboard and the chair. And so it's this area. Okay. So cool. Now let's go back and let's reintroduce the complexity, which really is now what we're doing is saying instead of send it raw, write it to a file first and then read it from a file. Which I still think that what I ended up with here, hold on, let me just write this first. Can't in, don't work that way. I expect this error to pop up. So I still would have. This is the troubling part. If I hadn't been so fortunate as to go through this troubleshooting process in the way that I did, I'd probably end up with sporadic errors where occasionally the end of the file was not written all the way to disk, and that would have been terrible to debug because in test conditions, it would probably always end up being that no matter what file I used, if I forgot to close the stream under test conditions, it would probably always work, and you wouldn't be able to do a unit test to find this. But under real world conditions, without closing the stream, there would randomly ends of files would be missing by one right size, whatever that is. So I'm glad that things turned out this way. Otherwise, I wouldn't have remembered, oh yeah, I need to close the file stream when I'm done with it. Okay, so with all that in place, we've got a couple of console.logs, but we're essentially not doing anything differently than what we would have been doing anyway. I do want to print out, where's my tempter? I do want to print out this as well. Just so I can go check in that general location. Okay, so we're going to do this, and we're going to do the same thing, and we should see the same thing again. Received and transferred should be the same number of bytes. So here we go. Same thing as before. And stream close. So the end does exist, but close is what I should use because it's a file connection, not a network connection. Okay. And if I go look in here, I suspect I'll probably see a couple of files from errant trials. No, it's completely empty. Cool. Yeah. If I just restart this, do I get the same one again? Or do I get a different sandbox temporary directory? Whoops. Okay, so let's see this one. Let me not make the same mistake again. At foo.txt. Looks good. Okay, and is that the same one as before? A bunch of 0GNs, whatever. Oh, this part's different. Okay, so what I should look for, I should look under here. Oh, wow. This is all the stuff. That's a whole bunch of junk. I can get rid of a bunch of these things. I'm going to get rid of all the webby stuff real quick. And, let's see if we can isolate more just the LibreOffice bits. Okay, they're all empty. Cool. I'm going to rough them anyway. All right. Cool. So one problem solved. On to the next bit. Now we're going to actually integrate the LibreOffice conversion with the files. So I'm going to back reference this for right now. I think I'm just going to call it convert. And then I'm going to take let's see, I'm going to take the file. Also, you know, another reason to split this out into a microservice is because you are so incredibly likely, if you're going to have a vulnerability in code that leads to exploitation, PDF is a prime target for that nonsense. Documents that are binary formats, I guess DOCX is now an XML format, so maybe that makes it less likely, but how many times has the iPhone been rooted or macOS been rooted? That's the number one actual real 0-day vulnerability that has popped up on Apple systems again and again, has been things that are either an image preview or that are in, well, yeah, they're the preview app. The preview app, both on iPhone and on macOS, has been the thing that at least what I've heard the most about in terms of 0-day vulnerabilities that the average person would come into contact with, have been in preview because of the PDF functionality and sometimes the metadata in JPEG or something like that. Anyway, close for files, end for network streams. So I'm just going to get rid of this. And so I've got the convert in here. So let's go ahead and do the conversion. So here, I'm just going to let input path equals. So, or maybe original path, maybe. And then let's do an await. Original path. Let PDF path equals. And then we're going to do same thing here. Extension. What is it? Base name? Yeah, so path.x name of, what was it that we're taking in here? Name. Okay. I should probably rename that to file name to be more clear. Path, base name, name. There we go. So this is going to give us, let's just call it base name. That's not very creative, but works well enough. So this is going to be original path, and then this is going to be, we're going to do base name, dot PDF, and let's make this a variable here. There we go. Boom. PDF path. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Return PDF path. And then here, and this would actually be now convert, I guess, because now we're changing what this is. But I do like the idea of actually keeping an echo, or basically having an identity API endpoint. So post a file, get back the same file. Exactly. Post a file to convert, get back the file in the format. Just as a sanity check. I'd like the other one to be there. Although I'm not quite clear on how, the way that Fastify does this with the prefixes, kind of, I don't know that I'm a fan. I very much believe in Matt Ryer's philosophy, that he puts forth in his talk. 8 years, what I've learned after 8 years of writing HTTP services, routes go in a single file. I like that philosophy. Path-based routing, it's not a bad idea, but it's certainly better than no philosophy. I think it's maybe on equal ground in terms of competitively attractive, but I tend towards the let's put all the routing in a single file, and I'd like to see if I can figure out how to do that with Fastify, but it doesn't feel like that is the way that it's designed to go. So, anyway, let's go ahead and test this out. So here I am. Oh, I'm doing that daggone pop thing again with my lerp. So let's do resume.docx is what we'll put as the input here. And then we'll put the output file is resume.pdf. And then let's open up resume.pdf. Let's see if it opens. All right, so let's see if we can find out what went wrong here. Ah, indeed. Original path is not a function. Okay, I can accept that. I agree. Original path is not a function. Original path. Ah, there we go. I think I meant to do convert. Like so. All right, then let's go ahead and make sure we put our -f back here. All right, good. Here I'll return an error. What did I do wrong this time? Cannot read properties undefined. Reading standard in. soffice 616. So I did something wrong. I think what I did wrong was an incomplete change to soffice. Let's see where standard in is. If ops.standardin pipe. So that should not be the case. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm testing this locally. I don't have soffice installed locally. So let's see if that might be what this is. Cannot read properties of undefined. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading standard in. 31:14. New promise exec. At convert. I think that's probably what it is. Although that seems a strange error message. I would expect to get cannot find soffice or something like that. But what is 31? Let's see if we can find 31 real quick. By the way, for those of you as you're coming and going, if any of this is useful to you, if you find it to actually be helpful, either because this helps you solve a problem that you're working on, or you discover a different methodology of debugging or something, thumbs up. Otherwise, if you hate it, thumbs down and goodbye. No, I don't want to shun anybody, but and share with a friend or subscribe if you want to see more like this. And for those of you that have recently joined in, I'm AJ. I would love to know who you are and what brings you here at this unheavenly hour. It is 2 a.m. where I am. And feel free to ask me any questions or give me unsolicited advice. I certainly dole out my share. Okay, so what I'm looking here for was line 31, I think. No, that's definitely the wrong file. Sorry. Okay, let's go to line 31 and see what this is. If ops.standard... Oh! Okay. I know what we need to do about that. It's funny because there was just a Twitter post about this recently. Okay. But you know what else? That's even better. But why allocate an object if we don't need an extra object? Okay, and then what was this one? We're just going to log out. Where are we? Oh, this is going to log out any output, but there is no output. Okay, so now we should get a completely different error. We should get that the binary soffice is not found. So good. We still get a 500, but the message I expect to get is spawn eno int. That makes sense. Error no entity, meaning file not found. That's what that means, which is exactly what I should and do expect. Okay, so here's what we're going to do then. I'm going to update the README a little bit, and I'm just going to put F and S in here so that I've got that. And then really what I want this to be is not resume.docx and then resume.pdf. There we go. And then maybe on here, maybe I should put format equals PDF or something like that. What do they call it? Extension, format. I think it's format. I'm going to go ahead and do that. It doesn't mean anything, but I'm just going to leave it there for now. And then I'm going to copy this over. So we're going to take this directory right here. We're going to take it over to a dev server that has some of the stuff installed already. And I'm going to go log into it. In fact, I think I already am logged into it. Oh. Let's get rid of that blah directory. That's just taking up a lot of dead weight. Okay, there we go. Okay. Still a lot of dependencies, but what do you do? Okay, so nope. I'll go back here. So doc to, what did I do? Doc to PDF. Yes. What am I at? Oh, that was a different dev instance. Okay. No, I wasn't logged into the dev instance I thought I was logged into. Okay, so let's do this then. We're going to run this, but now I'm going to try this on, let's see. What is this? Put in the development domain here, and we'll test it out. Connection refused. I don't find that to be likely. Oh, because I'm listening explicitly or maybe implicitly on localhost, which is not a bad idea. But let's see if we can tell this to open up a little bit. Doot, 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 doot. All right, cool. Now I'm listening on all interfaces. So let's run this again, and I'm a little confused. Something didn't go right, but I'm not sure what. But the good news is I've got the command that I can run and try again on my own. Okay, so the fact that it is printing out the buffer makes me think that I just didn't reply properly, because I don't know how else it could be printing out the buffer. So I've received 0. I've transferred. So I've sent the full file size and received nothing back. And it looks like it's running something. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel this. And let's just run this from the command line and see if it pans out or not. Okay, so this looks like it was doing something. So maybe I was wrong when I said that this console.log. So that should have printed something out, right? It's logging standard out, logging standard error. Okay, let's go ahead and check this way. Let's go from this one to this one. All right, so it seems that it did something interesting. Console.log unreadable chunks.join chunk all right, let's say to string UTF-8 because we're expecting this to be output. So let's just run it like that. Okay, yeah, that looks right. So this finished appropriately. So it's just not sending the data back for some reason. All right, so let's make sure if we do .then here, let's say success. And let's make sure that we actually get to the point of, it never prints out success. Interesting. Okay, so do I have maybe a process.exit in here somewhere? Because sometimes I put a process.exit in. No. Okay, am I not resolving? Maybe proc.end is not correct. Maybe this is one of the cases where it's proc.close or something. Let me go check the node docs real quick on that. Node node exec proc, no, what am I? Child process. Let's go check node child process real quick. Spawn. So we get an event exit. There we go. That's our malfunction. Dollars to donuts. Okay. This is one thing, you know, if you compare Node to Go. By the way, hello everybody, to all the people that are, you know, I see people coming in, they're leaving. I'm AJ. Love to have a chat. I really do appreciate it. I just had some good chat with Kai here. I really do like to have a chat, so feel free to write a comment. But if you compare Go to Node, one of the biggest differences that you'll find is that Node was built very ad hoc. And so there's very little congruency in its APIs. It's better than a lot of other things out there, but it doesn't compare at all. It doesn't hold a candle to Go. Go is incredibly congruent in the interfaces. The way that the type system in Go is built around interfaces really lends itself to really good code. So in Node, you have there's just a lot of difficulty in knowing when the end event, is it close, is it end, is it finish, is it exit. All right, so that looks good. So I actually don't want to console.log all this data out. And if I do undo that in the future, I actually want it to be to say what it is that it's spawning. I should do this like that. That's what I should do in the future. All right, and then this is success. So let's try that one more time. And again, CMD here. If we were to have an error, I'd want that to come out. I'd want it to be CMD. Well, yeah. I think that's what I'd want to do if there's an error. Be able to see what the args were. Okay, so that's good. Now let's go back to the original problem at hand. Does it download? No, it does not. Let's see why. No such file or directory. Okay, that was a little bit weird. I was not expecting that. What was I expecting from this? Where am I doing my await or resolve? Resolve. Chunks join. Okay, and then what am I doing here? Ah, this is why. Okay, so I don't actually care about that output. So I should probably pass an option log false or something. I'm just going to call this to do. Because maybe I'll want to do that. Maybe I won't. And what we need to return is going to be okay, we know what the path is going to be. We know the output dir, so we should be here path.join temp dir is the output dir, and then we should know the name of the file, right? Format input path, I guess. Okay, we did path.base name extension input path plus format. I think that's it. Still got a problem. Okay, so this one makes perfect sense though. Well, kind of perfect sense. Obviously, it shouldn't be .docx.pdf. So I did something wrong here. Path.basename should take a given input path and an extension and should produce it. Let me just open this up in Node real quick. So I'm gonna open Node here. So if I do path.basename and then I give it path to foo.txt and then I give it the extension .txt, it should give me back just foo. That's what my expectation is. So we should be able to console.log base name okay. So base name.format. That should be. Wait, let me go see how I'm using this in the route. Okay. Okay. I need to double check on this here. Because I think I'm doing something wrong. So output name. Output name is never used. So really this should just be format. Just get rid of that. The formats, typically file extension. Such as PDF. There we go. All right, so that should be right. And then I'm just going to change how I'm using it, because it turns out that I don't actually do any renaming or anything. So that whole bit about base name is just not necessary. Return PDF path. And then I'm going to read it, and I'm going to feed it, and I'm going to wait for the stream to end, and then I'm going to delete the file. Okay, seems standard enough. All right, still got the 500 though, but why? What's going on? Reference error. Extension is not defined. Okay, fine. If I had my linting tools turned on, because I don't right now, because I didn't bother to put them in the directory, and so it's just giving me bunches of warnings about everything. Let me just go ahead and do I not have? I don't have a I do have a JS-HentRC right here. So why is it complaining at me? Yeah, and I got it prettier. Maybe because I swapped versions of Node. Okay. It's not in this file, it's in this one. Extension. Okay. Oh, and that was wrong. Got it. Okay, this is good. So input path was just those two things. All right. I see what went wrong here. Path.xname input path. There we go. That'll give us our base name. And then dot format should be right. I guess the way that we ought to do this is we ought to read the directory. Let me see the way that he was doing it over here. Source format split colon 0. Where was he getting format from? Read. Callback. Yeah. That just looks kind of odd to me. Results. Is results ever used here? No, it's never even used. So I don't know where that format's coming from either. Format. Oh, got it. I know. So that's conditional. Okay, that makes sense. What format comes in? Yeah, all right, got it. Okay. Maybe I should just call that extension rather than format. I guess the documentation refers to it as format. Maybe in the other in another place. But I think that this is synonymous with extension. If it isn't, then I'm going to get confused at some point, because as far as I could tell, the examples I've seen, they don't specify what the out file is. They just specify the out directory. And I could maybe take a look at some other of these. Okay. Oops. Let's try yet another time, and then I think I actually am tired enough to go to sleep now. Ba-da-da-da! Cool. All right, let's take a look. All right, cool. I won't bring the resume over to the screen, but looks perfect. That's darn good. That looks exactly like what it should look like, I think. That's dang good. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So there we are. So now I need to pull this thing back. I need to actually stick it in a Git repository. I think I'm going to wait till tomorrow to do that. Famous last words. And then I think I would apply... Let me get rid of the blah one. That was just me doing an npm init with Fastify. Okay. I want to keep the .git ignore. Readme, public. Oh, I should test out that one as well. All right, so check this out. We're going to go to HTTP. I don't know if that's going to work. Yeah. All right, cool. So I should be able to hopefully do this as well. Let me go to, say, DOCX here. I'm going to find a DOCX. Come on, DOCX. File name contain. That's what I want. Give me the file name contains DOCX. There we go. What in the world is all that stuff? A lot of DOCXs on here. I didn't know I had all this stuff. I'll just go with this. Words. Interesting. Should come back down as PDF, so I think I had something wrong there. Let's just try that. Use PDF. And let's use magic file stuff to make sure. Let's do file resume.pdf, make sure that actually is a PDF. Good. And then let's see, try writing one.pdf. Yes, it actually is a PDF. Great. Okay, so everything, in the end, it seems like everything's working out. Except on the front end bit, let me go ahead and double check this. I think what's happening is that the download, let's see, extension is PDF, ext. Oh, okay, yep. There we go. So now if we did this again, because it's part of the echo service, I guess, could I give back? There's got to be some sort of header that is used for this. I think it's content disposition. I don't know if I have access to that from fetch. Okay, window.fetch content disposition. I think that's the name of it. Firefox does not support response.headers.get content disposition. Okay. So I think we can use this, is what it's saying. Attachment file name equals. Yeah, so on the sending side, we would need to send the name that we think that it should have. That's the two things I should change here. So in this part, we should try to read, let's see, where's the response? Response.status. So we should be able to take resp.headers.get. I'm just going to call it disp. And then let's kind of break that up. Let's do console.info. We'll just call it disp. And I don't think that's sufficient because you could have a quote in a file name. What would be the best way to go about this? I think it would be, first of all, make sure that it's an empty string if nothing else. And I think what we want to do is how is content disposition escaped? I need to go look up an RFC or something. Content disposition. I want to see. It's probably good enough. Is not a forbidden header name. Good. Attachment file name equals. Download attribute, earlier prioritize, blah, 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 blah. Multi-part body. All right. Okay, that's not actually helpful. I mean, I guess it is helpful in knowing that path information should be stripped, yada, yada. But what's the escape character? That's what I want to know. Or maybe I should just look at, I don't know. Oops. I think I need the RFC here. That could be useful. Try escape quotes. There we go. That's what I want to know. Single backslash. Okay, got it. So essentially what we want to do is replace dot star file name equals and then optional quote with nothing. And then we would take this and we would say if new name dot length -1 is a quote, then we would do new name slice 0 -1. I think that's how it would go. I'm going to go double check on that real quick. I'm just going to open up Node terminal here. Okay, Node, and then so file name equals quote blah .ext dot slice 0 -1. Yeah, that's it. File name equals Bob's annual report. That could be what this looks like. So backspace there, quote with quote. There we go. Oh, and I need to put G's on these. Where's that other replace hat? No, I don't need a G on that. Okay, there we go. So we could do this. We could say if not new name, then like this. All right, so got that part done there, and then I'm going to update my convert function. I'm going to just check out how you do set headers in Fastify. Fastify, set headers. And I do have my eye on the comments, but there are no comments at this time. Okay, reply.header. All right. Content disposition and see. base name, destination. And I'm assuming that it doesn't allow slashes in this, because that's part of routing. Might be a bad assumption. So we're going to do suggested name is that name. Dot replace. I'm going to replace all instances of a quote with instances of a backslash quote, if I'm not mistaken. All right, cool. I'm going to take a look at the content disposition again. All right, attachment, file name equals. Got it. Okay. Whoa. All right, let's check this out. I think this is going to work. And then I'm going to call it quits and go to bed. Oh, I'm not running the server. Duh. Okay, choose file, downloads. No, we can go to these downloads. Or writing one. I guess we can choose that, sure. Reference error parts is not defined. That's okay. Let me go fix that real quick. I thought we didn't use that. Oh. All right. What happened? Oh, I didn't refresh. That didn't quite work out the way that I'd hoped. Kind of sort of did, but not really. Let's try this again. File name. I must have done something wrong. Yeah, fill name. That's what I did. I did fill name. All right, let's refresh this. Ba-da-da-da. All right, cool. Everything worked out. High five, everybody. Ha! Insomnia wins. All right, looks good to me. This is just some sort of terrible advice on how to write in a way that no one will enjoy what you write. Some sort of professional standard. Yeah, looks good. Looks really good. All right, so again, let's bring that on over, and then I will server. What was dumb? Oh, good. There's nothing there. And then the doc to PDF. I don't need that anymore. I still do need to write a little bit of code to interface with this. I need to write the client piece as well. So I've got the little test server piece, and I've got the server piece itself. I've got the converter, but I also need the little client snippet of, okay, let's take a stream that we're getting from an upload. Let's pipe it over to this service, and then let's pipe what we get back to an upload to a box account. That's not the way that goes. I think we can do npm run start here. That'll do the normal thing, right? Yeah, it will. All right, needs to have a get clone URL in there. I'm not going to put that in there yet. Yo, Rune. I'm just getting off. I got to think about... So the deploy scripts that I worked on in the last couple of sessions, I think I'm going to take the same kind of... put the same kind of thing in here. Let's see. I think if I take those scripts and just have this deploy from main only, that should be good enough. Let me see. I'm just going to open source this one. Let's see. Let's put the standard. Let's just go with MIT on this. What are the ISC? I don't know which license I actually want to use yet. What's the difference between these two? Use compromise for any purpose with or without fee is hereby granted, provided that the above copyright notice and permission appear on all copies. Yeah, it looks like ISC is just a dumbed down version of the MIT. Yeah, I don't know what I want to do with it yet. I'm going to sit on that for a second. Okay, readme and public and server. Let's see. What does this get diff about? Yeah. Okay. Readme, public, server. Wait, didn't I just add these? Oh, whoops, I'm in the wrong place. Okay, let me get back here to the right place. Open demo page. Let's see. I am going to grab something else real quick. There we go. This. I'm going to just put this in the README. Run with node. Demo curl. System requirements. There we go. Whoops, web install.dev node.lts bash. There we go. LibreOffice node. I think that's it. So that looks good. Initial commit. That's just what I'm going to call this. And I don't have a place to put it to yet. But here we are. Here we are, ladies and gents. I do need to push this somewhere just in case I do something stupid. I just don't know where to. I don't know where to push it yet. I'm just gonna make a copy. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a copy of it just in case I do something stupid. And by something stupid, I mean that I sync it from the remote with an older version on top of the newer version or something. In fact, let me go back to this one where I've got .back there. And we're gonna call this 2021. What was 1120? .back. There we go. All right. But I plan to open source this. I'm not sure which license I want to use that yet, and I'm not sure which place I want to put it to because there's a couple of things here. One, this is the kind of thing that as a company, we don't really have a lot of, I think open source might be more detracting than it is beneficial. With the type of customers and businesses that we interface with, it might be worse for us to have a public repository with code in it than it would be useful. If we ran this as a service and we just hosted it as a on a tools page, like here's, we can convert a document into PDF for you. But I think everybody knows how to do that, kind of, sort of. They know how to print to PDF most of the time. There are people that don't. But then the hesitation of if I put it on my own personal repo, the hesitation there is this is something that was predominantly on work time for work purposes. We at least need a mirror of it in the company repo. The question is just whether I make that public or not. I think I could do the documentation well on it. We could put up a test site that anybody could use. That's nothing fancy, just a little bit nicer than what I have there. Maybe if I were to take that, let me just try this out real quick. I'm going to go try it over on this side. What if I just add in here, let's see, head, script. If anybody has interest in seeing this converter go live, obviously there's lots of free ones online already, but we need it accessible as an API to us. Well, I mean, I could have just left it in the code, but like I said, there's a couple of issues I see with that. It makes the setup of the system more complex. It takes 3 minutes longer to build a new system just because of the dependencies that likely never need to change. And if there were a vulnerability in the way that the PDF is parsed, that shouldn't affect the rest of our app. That's something that is, on the vulnerability scale, it is a little bit higher. But if somebody's interested in figuring out what to do with this, let me know, because if you would find it useful, maybe we can figure out something to do with it. I think it would be interesting just as a software to say, and this doesn't really fit in our business model, but if I were to put it as a personal project, I could try it out, but say, okay, here's $99, here you get this thing, here's how to set it up as an API, whatever. That could work. Title, Libre convert. Okay, now let's see if I go back over here and I refresh. Oh, sorry. So if you do nothing else but include mvp.css, it makes magic happen. See how nice that is? It went from looking tarded to looking slightly less tarded. I think, what was it? We put a main and a section in here, and then it'll look even better. Let me go try that real quick. I don't remember. Is it section main or is it main section? We'll try it both ways. Oops. There you go. Boom. Check that out. Looks great, right? That's my kind of CSS style sheet. Zero effort. Looks a million times better. Win. And I actually have a commit in on MVPs.css. And oh, whoops. So what do I want to do here? Hold on. We're going to take that public index. I'm going to move it to temp real quick. See, we're doing the dirty here, y'all. Okay, let's take it that way and then move it. Whoops. Index here. And then we're going to take it the other way. So this is what I was talking about in case I do something stupid. It'd be so easy to screw something up this way. Let's see. Index public get def -w. Pretty simple. And there we are. Let's go ahead and run prettier on this. Wait a minute. I want to get rid of all the dumb stuff. Dang it. All right, feature, add mvp.css. I'm going to post that link to y'all, just in case you want to use it too. If you hate CSS as much as I do, join me in trying to get people to do classless CSS. mvp.css right there. Okay. So with that said, having accomplished something, being a little bit more tired, I'm gonna mull over this in the morning as to what license I'm going to use for this and where exactly I'm going to publish it. I think I'll go the route that I would normally go. I think I'll make it MPL. I'll publish it to the company repo. I'll maybe touch it up ever so slightly more than this and then add an auto deploy to it and have it auto deploy to then I got to go back and I got to do the Cloudflare integration, which I already posted that somewhere, most of what I needed for that. But I'd need to do the Cloudflare, because this would go into prod. It would be convert.example.com, perhaps. What should we call it? DocuConvert? .convert to PDF. pdf.example.com, convert.example.com. I don't know. We'll put it up at some domain like that. Let's see what I could do from there. All right, anyway, I'm out. Thanks for joining in, those of you that joined in. But if you didn't join in, if you're absent, raise your hand. Thumbs up if you got them, thumbs down if you don't. Remember to share with someone if you found this useful. Share with someone else that you think might find it useful too. And the like if you liked it, if it was valuable to you, if you learned something. Feel free to comment at any time, whether you're watching this now or later, with any questions or suggestions or things that you want to explore. I'm not really good with the whole engagement thing. I try to throw it in there a little bit here and there, but I would like to grow the channel and invite more people and get more interaction. I really enjoy the interaction when we do have it. I know a lot of you just kind of listen in the background. You perk in when you hear something interesting. You check the screen, see what it's about. And that's cool too. But I really do enjoy the interaction, and I'd like to get more of it. And yeah, so, click all the things, do all the do's, and I will hopefully catch you next time. Oh, one last thing, actually. If you do want to join in on the Discord, I will go ahead and plop a link to the Discord channel here right now. And as always, let me go ahead and plug Creeds of Craftsmanship.com if you are interested in. Hey, thanks, Adil. I didn't realize you were here the whole time. That's awesome. And thank you for the well wishes. So creedsofcraftsmanship.com if you want to watch videos or read talks, what I think are the top videos and talks in software engineering. That's where I post those. You're welcome to add a comment if you find some really good stuff too. And then https webinstall.dev for installing developer tools quickly and safely and better than pretty much every other method. So now for realsies, adios.